Hi, Tim Goldstein here, your neurodiversity communication expert. I'm here to tell you today about the cloud theory of neurodiversity. Let's start with, what is neurodiversity? A lot of you don't have any idea what neurodiversity is. You've heard the term, you've heard the word. You know it must mean something because big companies are getting involved and jumping on this neurodiversity thing, but you have no clue what neurodiversity means. So let me explain to you real quickly what neurodiversity really is. I'm going to try and draw it as a little picture here and see if I can give you an idea. And we're going to try and do this as a quick through overview. And at another point, we can get into more details. So let's start with, we all accept that as humans that our bodies vary, our faces look different, our noses look different, our ears are all different from each other, and hopefully mine don't stick out too bad, and all those kind of things, and we accept that. We also accept that the differences in our physical makeups are going to give us different capabilities and performances out in the real world. For instance, somebody who is 5'2" is probably not going to be a star basketball player. But somebody who is 6'10" has much greater potential at that height to be very successful shooting them hoops. So we recognize that real quickly. But for some reason, we don't think about how in our head there can be differences and how those differences can make us better or worse in different situations. So let me kind of describe it. Let's start with, just imagine that there's kind of this cloud. And what this cloud represents is every possible trait that a human can possibly have. So in other words, we've got our DNA over here, excuse me for my bad double helix, however that is. We got our DNA, and it can generate all of this whole range of traits that you can fill into this thing. So if it were to give a very even measure of all the different traits, we would end up with traits all over. That are kind of like that. And what I'm trying to show you there is that overall there is quite a wide range of different traits that humans are capable of producing and having brain structures grow that allow us so that we manifest that kind of behavior because of the way our brains are functioning. So let's say this is just basically everything that could possibly exist. So this is here, we're just going to call this the Neuro Universe. So we're calling it Neuro Universe because it's the complete universe of all the neuro traits that a person can have. And if we were to take somebody in this point, they would be what we would consider just a very well-balanced person. Now, my concept in the idea of cloud neurodiversity is that everything has to fit within the neuro universe. We as humans cannot be something that a human can't be. So everything fits in here. Now within here though, I say that we divide this, and I'm going to use a different color just for fun. Do not draw any conclusions from the color other than Tim likes red because it's bright. So let's just take and divide this out and say that everything over on this side over here represents what we would call neurotypical, or short, NT. So when we're talking neurotypical, we're saying somebody that has this group of traits that are in the size and the quantity, so the presence and the magnitude, that would be like what we would consider to be a normal person. So in other words, it would be somebody who would put clothes on before they would go outdoors. It would be somebody who would hold the door if you were right behind them, not slam it as hard as they could in your face. All those kinds of traits in here would make you be neurotypical. Now, if we take the other side, and we're going to use green because Tim likes green also, and green just seems good. And we take this side over here, this is what we would call over here neurodiverse. And neurodiverse would take in people who have all the different traits that would be things such as Asperger's spectrum disorder, Asperger's, ADHD. I think I'm missing one there. And that depression. Oh, anxiety. All of those things would be the types of traits that when they fall in certain arrangements of, say for instance, over here we have this nice even distribution of all the different traits. Let's say over here in the neurodiverse universe, we have instead this trait has become huge. As a matter of fact, it's become so huge, it's swallowed that trait, and that one has swallowed up all those traits. And let's say that one swallowed up those to make that big, huge trait, and let's connect those together there. So when we look at a person that has traits like this, they don't have a lot of different traits in their personality, but what you do see is they have some very huge predominant traits. When we have different combinations of those, of the particular traits and the magnitudes, we will call them these different things. We call it Asperger's spectrum disorder, or Asperger's, or ADHD, or depression, or anxiety, or all different numbers of mental health disorders. But the important thing to remember is whether it's neurotypical or neurodiverse, they're not different people or different kinds of people. They're all the exact people that fit in the universe of people. The difference is the ones on the neurodiverse side have different perspectives. They process things differently in their brains, and they interact and they deal with everybody differently. So the important part to remember is when you're dealing with neurodiversity, it's not neurotypical versus neurodiverse, it's one universe. And the trick is to come up with ways that we can communicate across this barrier. So we can get the benefit of the entire universe for our team instead of only having the benefit of a typical or a diverse. We want the benefit of both. And this can be achieved real simply by helping this group understand what the neurodiverse people are like and helping the neurodiverse people understand what the neurotypicals need in order to communicate. Well, I hope that explains to you, at least real briefly, my cloud concept of neurodiversity and how with my cloud concept of neurodiversity, it's moved from being where you have neurodiverse on one end and neurotypical on the other end, and they looked at being at odds to where we've now made it an inclusive piece where neurodiversity is all the different possibilities of the traits that a person could express in the magnitude that they express it in. And that neurotypical is simply saying this particular combination of traits and magnitudes is what we consider normal. And if your traits or their magnitude are a little bit different, then we're going to consider you neurodiverse. But don't fear. We're all the same people, we're all the same humans, and we all communicate and process through the same senses. So we can reach each other if we're just aware that there are the differences. Tim Goldstein, your neurodiversity communication expert. Thanks for joining me.